My name is Robert Else. This is Jordan Morris. We're from Santa Barbara City College in Southern California. It's about 90 miles north of LA, and it's on the ocean. It's a beautiful campus. I'll show you a picture later, and you'll hate us. But just so I know who's in the room, how many people are from institutional research here? How many researchers? Oh, God, yeah. Great, great. Right. That's great. How many, like, more IT people, more like programmers, database people? Both. Right. Okay, you can be both.
Yeah, me too.
You can be both. All right. Of the IR people, how many of your bosses contacted you this week and wanted some data, even though they know you're at a conference? All right. Yes. I can raise my hand too. All right. Let's see. How many Tableau users? How many people like use Tableau right now? Wow, almost the whole. How many are sort of looking at it like we'd really like to get it? It looks cool. I hope you get it. It is cool.
It is cool.
It is cool. It's totally worth it. It's worth it, right? Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. How should I start this? I just want to ask a real sort of maybe an icebreaker question. Who's from east of the Mississippi? Who's from out of the country? Anybody from out of the country? Wow. So farthest away, Germany, Europe, somewhere? Australia? Wow. Okay.
Winner.
That's the winner, yeah. Are you from Tableau? Do you work for Tableau? Wow, great. I hope we can come and visit. I heard it's beautiful. Okay, well, let's get started. The title of this is Fueling Student Success at Santa Barbara City College. I just want to point out, we're the first presenters, at least that I've seen and that Jordan has seen, that used the storyboard feature in our presentation. Most people have been still, bouncing back and forth between PowerPoint and Tableau, which is great, but we decided to take the plunge, so this is 8.2, all in storyboard. So we'll see what happens. We'll live on the edge here. Here's what we'll talk about today. We'll tell you a little bit about us and our college, and the two main reasons we got Tableau, and the two, the reason we're here today, and the reason we use Tableau in our particular situation, which may be different from yours, because I think the main difference is we're a 2-year school. Is there anybody here from a 2-year school? Yeah, 4-year? Okay, 2 years. We have different goals, different mindsets, different cultures, different problems to solve. And so I hope it'll be interesting for you to see things through our eyes. And we struggle with some of the same things, but some different things as well. And we'll show you the vizzes that we built to help solve the particular problems that we have at our school. Not that we have nothing but problems, but to answer the questions that we have. Let me put it that way. And then we'll have some Q&A. And if there's time left over, I'll show you some slides from a fun presentation we did that talks about what a Tableau really is. Again, my name is Robert Else. I'll come out here out of this dark shadow here. I wonder why they put us back in the corner. I'm the Senior Director of my full title is Institutional Assessment, Research, and Planning at Santa Barbara City College. Senior Director. Not just a director, I'm a Senior Director. It doesn't mean I'm old. It means I'm very wise and experienced. Jordan is a systems analyst, an information systems specialist 3, which is as high as you can go. He is our database guru, SQL guru, anything to do with software, he can just do it. And he's been our Tableau Jedi. Well, you're not. I have to use that word carefully now because Jedi means something special. But
yeah, I don't get to get up on stage with the Jedis yet.
Not Jedi, not yet. You can't wear a sword yet.
No.
But you are a qualified associate.
A Padawan.
Right. So just a brief slide about our college. As I said, sorry, Jordan. It's a 2-year school. We are right on the ocean. It's just a gorgeous campus. The other big school that's right next to us, about 10 miles north, is University of California at Santa Barbara. And that's our main transfer destination for our students who come to us wanting to get their lower division stuff out of the way and transfer as a junior and then just finish up their last 2 years. At least that's the perfect model. 2 years at the, quote, 2-year school, and then 2 years at the, quote, 4-year school, and you're done, right? How many students actually make it through? Not that many. But I want to brag that we were selected in 2013 as the #1 community college in the nation out of about 1,200 community colleges, 1,200 2-year schools, based on IPEDS data, and then they come to your school and interview your faculty and interview the staff and student services people to find out what the culture is like. And what they're looking for, the name of the award was the Community College Excellence Award. What they're looking for is for schools that have good student success rates and good transfer rates and seem to be doing things right, what is it that they're doing? Maybe trying to, bottle this formula. I don't think they'll ever, every school does it differently. We were actually co-winners that year with Walla Walla Community College, which, their culture is totally different. In fact, literally culture. They're a big winemaking school, and so their students get lots of jobs, and they're very connected with the local economy. Our award was mainly more for completions and transfers. We have a very good pipeline of students coming in, getting their work done, and getting out. So it was a great honor. Of course, it's easy to do when you only have 12 students. There they are, right there. We know each one of our students. Yeah. Our annual enrollment, on the credit side, we have a credit. The question was, what's our annual enrollment? Unduplicated in a year, it's roughly 30,000. That's about 25,000 credit students, and then about a little over 5,000, maybe 6,000 non-credit students that are taking ESL and getting their high school diploma, that kind of thing. So in a given semester, roughly 19,000, 20,000 students. Sorry, I meant to mention that. Thank you for asking. The core things that we want to do at our school, I hate to say this, but we're no different from other community colleges in that about 70-75% of our students come to us from high school, take an assessment test, as they're required to do at all community colleges in California, and they assess below college level. So these are the students who didn't make the jump from high school to a 4-year school for one reason or another, financial, family, who knows. So in a certain sense, these are perhaps the less successful students, but still 3/4 of them come and have to take either remedial math or remedial English, meaning they're not ready to take a college-level English class or a college-level math class, which to me is so sad that you've sat there for 12 years in school and you come to college and we tell you, sorry, not yet. So there's a huge discussion in California about the assessment system. Are we assessing things correctly? And these tests have been validated every way, left and right and up and down. All the data's been crunched, the statistics. The faculty say that the assessment tests are correct. Even the students say, yes, I was placed into the correct class, at least the ones that we asked and the ones that answered the question. But this is one of our big challenges here, is basic skills. Students, and the data shows us that once they assess into remedial classes, their progress through those classes is very slow, and their chances of reaching, coming out from underwater and reaching college-level classes is very small. The longer you stay in those remedial classes, the smaller your chance of getting to a college-level class. So that's a big challenge for us, and that's a big area of our work. We want students to come here to our school and earn an associate's degree or transfer to a 4-year university. That's really what we'd like them to do. We also have a sort of a workforce training program, which is very strong. But that, I hope, gives you sort of an idea of what we do as a 2-year school, which is, I think, pretty different from 4-year schools. You don't give I don't know, do you guys give assessment tests when students come in? in some subjects maybe, engineering, so on. For us, any student that says they want to earn a degree or take college-level classes in order to earn credits to transfer, they must take an assessment test. That's not just our school. That's any school in California. That's the California Education Code. But 3/4 of them, surprisingly higher in English than in math. Math students seem to assess a little better. Although, okay, I have to tell my math story, which is I'm at the ATM with my wife, two what looks like high school students in front of us. I don't know if they're making a deposit or a withdrawal or whatever. And one of them says to the other, "What's 100 minus 60?" And the other one goes, "Oh, well, that's easy." And she pulls out her phone and goes like that. So hopefully those weren't our students. Okay, so here's one of the reasons we got Tableau. One of the two reasons is we get hammered. Even today, get hammered with questions of how many of this, what % of that. This all is familiar to all of you, I'm sure. I mean, even though we're the research office, we hardly ever get to do research. It's mostly counting things. How many first-time students said they wanted to transfer to school X? And I got that question today. I'll show you later on. So what I did was this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I started keeping a list of these questions. And it was called my What I Really Want to Know Is list. And I thought I would see some pattern and we'd build the big master database and just, we'd be able to answer all this stuff. But these questions are all over the map. And after just a few weeks, I had hundreds of questions about transfer. What about, math students that are in Math 120? Where did they come from and where did they go to after that? Anything you can think of. All these questions. Not necessarily research questions, like, gee, I wonder if we gave students this pill if they would do better. We didn't get hardly any of those. Any proposals for we'd like you to do this research program. It was all how many of this and what % of that. Not even any fancy inferential statistics, just descriptive stuff. So I made a word cloud of it, and luckily students came out biggest. It wasn't faculty. But it's how many courses, years, enrolled, enrollment, math, English, transfer. You get the idea. Is that, how many would say, of the IR people, which is most of you, how many would say that's kind of your world too? Not very many, oh. More researchy? More, yell something out. What would be an alternative, like to counting things? Sorry? Advancement modeling. Yeah, retention, and the sort of the admissions funnel. I think a lot of four-year schools have a great deal of attention on that. The applicants versus how many are actually going to show up and how many do show up and that kind of thing. Okay. Well, this is our world. Mostly how many of this and what % of that. And that's what we wanted Tableau to help us with. Now here's a quote. We'll get into Tableau in the very next slide, but here's a quote that I really like. The issue here is we have gobs of data. We have years and years and years of data on every aspect of every student. So the problem is not that we don't have the data. But I love this quote. Where is the wisdom we have lost in the knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in the information? Does that resonate with you? You know what I mean? Famous quote from T.S. Eliot, this gentleman, author of Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, among many other poems. And this is from a poem called The Rock. If any of you want to look that up. I just love that quote. If you read the whole poem, you'll see the context. And that leads us to our first Tableau viz. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Jordan Morris.
Thank you, Robert. So some of you may have seen this viz before. In a couple sessions, I've seen it. It was actually, I believe it was it Purdue who did the first round of this?
That we copied it from?
Yeah, we got it from Tableau Public and downloaded it and then tweaked it to sort of meet our needs and added a bunch of filters as we went along. But what this basically shows is everything demographic about our student body over the past, going back to 1999. So you can see the year there at the bottom. Well, maybe you can't because it's kind of a small screen. But we go from 1999 across to 2014, and these are fall terms. The top chart here shows head counts, so you can see sort of that we've been growing, 13,447 back in 99, up to over 20,000 in 2011, and then due to some budget constraints, we sort of went down a little bit, but that number for fall 14 is still in progress, so that should be popping up too. And in this viz, what we wanted to do is really be able to answer, as Robert mentioned, the thousands of questions that we get about how many of this, what types of students do we have, are there changes over time, are we seeing more of this or less of this? So this basically was generated to answer all those questions. So now we actually send people here when we get the thousands of questions, and they can kind of do their own analysis. And now actually people have kind of started just going here without asking us, which is really nice. So what we wanted to do is we kind of took the basic template, but we also added a few things. So on the top here, these are just the ins, basically the numeric data of how many. Right now we're looking at ethnicity over time. So the purple guys, these are the Hispanic students. Blue, these are the white students, and then you can see the different student populations here. What this shows you is kind of the growth over time overall of the whole student body, but we also wanted to see trends in individual things, which is kind of hard to pull out from just looking at the numeric data. So what you might not see in that top chart is the percentage differences. So you can definitely see there's, starting back in 99, we had 61% of our student body was white and 25% was Hispanic, and you can see how they're kind of converging now. We're 46% white and 34% Hispanic. So some of those trends that were sort of anecdotal now became real hard evidence using the data and drawn visually. Another very interesting trend, and of course you can filter all this, like if you wanted, and Robert will show you this in a minute. You can filter all of these things to really narrow in on the student population you want to look at. One other one I'll show you real quick here is if we change the color bars by and look at the residency, this is something that has now become a hot topic based on the graphic here. You can see the blue here are in-district students, and the green are out-of-district, and you can see how those two are converging. So locally, there's been a big push about serving our in-district students and bond measures and taxes going towards the school when we're serving out-of-district. So it's become kind of a hot topic that's been generated over some of these visualizations. So this alone, with all the filters and controls and color bars by, you could spend a couple hours really digging in and find a lot of things that you otherwise would never be able to see in a table of numbers. Just today, or yesterday, I guess it was, Robert got an email from our executive vice president, and I'll let Robert.
Since you're there, why don't you do it? The email said, Robert, how many of our students from out of the district?
Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, what are you looking for? My email?
Yeah.
Don't read my email.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Who knows what's in there? Just go back. I know what it said. Yeah.
Okay, you can talk me through what it was. All right.
Yeah. I'm only kidding. You can read the email, but since you've got it up on the screen,
is there something about me in there?
No.
So what was the question?
How many of our students from out of the district? They're first-time students.
So that weren't in district, right?
They're not in our district. They're either from, not close to our school or out of state, or they're international students even. And they're first-time students.
First-time students.
First-time students.
Okay. So we'll just check first-time students.
And they want to. They say they want to transfer. Their goal is to transfer to UCSB, the University of California, Santa Barbara, the four-year school that's just right up the road.
So this is a question from our executive vice president, who is an extremely knowledgeable man, but not very technically savvy. So we still do field questions from him every once in a while. So in 3 clicks, that was basically all it took to kind of answer his question. In 2013, there were 758. 2014, there were 883 students who were first-time students outside of our district who plan to transfer to our local feeder school, which is the UCSB.
Of course, it was 2 clicks, but it took me 2 days to get back to because of the party and
I blame it on the Space Needle.
Right.
But yeah, so this really allows, there's a couple people who still are not quite tech savvy enough to figure out the clickies of it, but the majority of people kind of have a pretty good handhold on how they get in here and access that data themselves. But now it's easier for us. We don't have to write a bunch of queries. We can, even if we have to send answers to people, we can come here and sort of send them, find the answer immediately in the data and actually show other trends as well. I mean, we could see where their residency was, or I guess we know they're not in district, but where were they? You could filter by that, or let's see, the majority of them are out of district, but we do have some out-of-state people and even some international students who are planning on transferring to UCSB. So it was it's nice to be able to not just give an answer, but also break it down in a lot of different ways, which this kind of allows people to do.
Is this extracted from, or is it a live connection?
This is a data extract that we did, so we weren't hooking live today, but it's from we have a data warehouse that gets refreshed nightly. So this is refreshed nightly in Tableau on the server. It's a Tableau. It's on the Tableau server itself. We have just a Tableau server license and 12 desktops. So our next viz that we'll be looking at here.
Notice how it's live. I mean, it's an extract, but the viz is alive, but it's inside of a Tableau storyboard. Unlike if it was in PowerPoint, you couldn't click around and do stuff. So we think it's cool that you can do the storyboard and have a live viz in there and have a Twibix file, an extract file. This whole thing, it's querying millions of rows of data, but the whole file is only 22 meg. So you can just put it in your flash drive and carry this around. It's great. And it doesn't matter that it's a day old. It's still perfectly good. So the whole storyboard thing is really a success, we think.
Yeah. So now we're looking at a viz that probably is relevant to most people here, and that's course fill rates. We wanted to look at not just course fill rates overall, but we wanted to look by dean, because each dean serves a specific area: technologies, sciences, etc. So you can filter here by deans. So what this top chart is kind of showing, this is fall 2014, so this is the current our current term here. It shows the overall. So right now I have all deans selected, so you can see that top chart shows the overall fill rate of courses, and it starts at the first day of priority registration, which is about a two-month period, I think, for fall, and then it goes through open registration all the way through. It'll go through census date once we hit that. The middle one shows by department, and it looks kind of, I don't know, Pollocky or something. But gets kind of crazy with all those colored lines in there. But so that's each department. So you can immediately see and hover over and kind of see which departments are really filling up quickly and which ones. Business administration's 100% full, like 3 days into priority registration. So immediately you can see where maybe we need to add some more sections, which subjects we might even want to look at hiring more instructors to teach so that we can add sections. And then the bottom chart here is the course fill rate. So if we pick a particular dean, I will select, let's do Ben Partee. Ben Partee is the dean for 4 departments: DSPS, which is Disabled Student Services, Programs and Services, English, Professional Development, and Work Experience. So Ben can go in here now and dial this up and see exactly what not just his departments are doing overall, but each individual course. And he can find courses like English 111 that is a mandatory course that you have to take to get, to get an associate's degree. But it's one that's already filled. So by the time open registration hits, it's totally full. So if you're a first-time student, you have no shot at getting that class, is what that basically means. So we know for future planning purposes which courses we need to have more offerings of. It also allows you to kind of filter in and look at individual departments And you can, of course, hover and see a lot of information, detail about how many sections we had offered, and you can see the date. It's a day-by-day snapshot, so it goes each day. We see how full each course is in each department. Yes.
Are you just capturing like an aggregated snapshot each day, or is it like a snapshot of the entire database on a daily basis?
It is a snapshot. It is it's a table it's a materialized view that's basically updated on a nightly basis that adds one row per section and the total enrollment for that section. So a course might have, like this English 111 has 30 sections on that date. So there's actually 30 rows in that table, one for each section, and what the enrollment is, and what the total possible enrollment is. So that's what we use. It's a pretty narrow table, but it has millions of rows because there's one row for every section of every course for the past 3 years or so. So for every single day, yep. So you can track it throughout time. Let's see. So yeah, if we went back to spring 14. That he can see his here. So those are all, this bottom course fill rate here, that's probably 100,000 rows of data just displayed, and it does it Tableau, of course, instantly almost. So, yes. These guys? Those are all filters, yeah. So the deans, we mapped back the deans to their individual departments, and so there's a master table of deans to departments. We use Banner, which is an Oracle-based database for our student information system, and in there's mappings back, so you can get from the dean to each individual course level. Yeah. I did not know that there's a maximum amount of 20 colors, but there probably is duplicating colors. Yeah, it was. I think I do see a couple colors that might be the same in there. Maximum is 20? Okay.
We sort of went over the top on colors.
Yeah, I mean, if you select all the deans, as you saw, it's a little overwhelming. But you can still see the ones that pop up right away, and you can still see the ones that are kind of still at the very bottom, 0% full, We're almost at census date, and there's nobody, well, I guess there's only one section, 10 seats in English 265, and no one's in that class, so maybe that instructor should go teach English 111 where we, have the need there. So kind of the deans use this tool to figure out where they need to add or subtract things.
We went for the artistic effect, even though we violated the color rule.
Yeah.
So can everybody see this, or can the deans only see their information?
Everyone can see it. Yeah, this is pretty. Yeah, it's. The president can come look at it, and all the deans can see the other dean stuff. It's not really private, type of stuff. It's actually stuff we want eyes on, so that everyone kind of knows where the sore spots are and where we maybe could cut back. So yeah.
I find that one dean doesn't want the other deans to know.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, our deans are it's pretty tight group. So, and we only have 6 or so now. 5, 6. Yeah. Yes. Sure.
So you said something about putting this on a flash drive. Like, what
Yeah.
exactly is on there in terms of, like, I would be nervous about data. I don't want to.
This flash drive? Yes, it has the course level data. It does have we removed all student data from this and any sensitive data. So you'll see what tools in a little bit that the counselors use that actually allows them to drill down to the student level and see student names, but we've obfuscated that, and now it's just their student ID multiplied by some random factor and add 90 or whatever. So you'll see student IDs instead of names, which the counselors would actually see the individual's names in there. So this file is totally safe to share, but the live version is restricted to only counselors. So on the Tableau server side, we have the security set up so nobody can see that particular viz except for the counselors. And we have a 1,500 to 1 counselor to student ratio, student to counselor ratio. So we have to figure out, that's sort of why we wanted to build a tool for the counselors to identify the students who are most in need. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Yes?
Do you guys tie any of this in any way to space data, like the utilization, like your enrollment to the utilization of the space?
Yes, we do. We do have.
And like things like energy costs and stuff like that?
We haven't done energy costs. That's an interesting one. Yeah, we do have a space utilization one and a room utilization. We have a couple different vizzes for that. We don't have them as part of the presentation today, but I'd be happy to share those with you if you'd like. You could come grab a card at the end, and we'll have our contact info up there. All right. So Robert's going to show you this next one. The Accidental Analyst, Robert.
Yeah. How many have seen that book, The Accidental Analyst? Anybody have that book? I became, by accident, the Accidental Analyst when we first got Tableau. Let's see. I had bought my own desktop copy out of some, I had a little bit of money left at the end of the year, and I thought, oh, Tableau is so cool, I just want to buy it. And my boss said, okay, so I spent my whatever it is, I forget what it was back then, but so I messed around with it a little bit, and then I forgot about it. And then when it was time, there was a college-wide press to buy. We need a decision support system. We need something to help us see all this data. So we looked at Cognos and Oracle and all the usual suspects, and we ended up with Tableau. And so when we first got Tableau, I started messing around with it again, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I gave it our entire academic history file, which is, I don't know, 4 million rows or whatever. Yeah. And I just started messing around, and I clicked, the show me button, and boom, this showed up, or something close to it. And I went, wow, this is great. And so I fumbled around and finally got something that I liked. And what this is our grade distribution. Here's accounting, for example. The accounting department, and here are the courses, accounting 110, 150, 180, and so on. Dark green is an A, middle, and A, B, C, D. Pink, this color pink, is a D. Bright red is an F or an incomplete. And gray means they dropped the class, dropped after census, which for us that's bad because that student took up a seat, went through census, and then dropped the class, and a lot of our classes are full, and that's a wasted seat, So too bad. So what I wanted to look for here was hotspots of a lot of drops or a lot of Fs. Well, didn't take very long before we get to anthropology here, and nobody passed these classes. What's going on? Turns out they're online classes. We know students don't do as well as online classes. In online classes, their success rates are about 10% lower because, you got to work hard in an online class. There's no instructor in your face making you do stuff. So we're going to be taking a look at those. Let's see. Let me scroll down a little more here. Any other? Well, here's some courses I really want to take. Auto 217. Everybody passed those. Let's see. Any other? Well, here's a Business 205. We know for us our business majors, which is, I think it's one of our top 2 or 3 most popular majors. Many students declare that major, but not very many complete, at least not as many as we'd like to. So we wanted to know where the trouble spots are there. And right away, you can see that Business 205 has a high failure rate. And let me just scroll down here. Let's see. What if I was going to pick a department I want to be in, I would be a music major because there's a pretty high rate there. And so on. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, but you can see at a glance, and we can look at this over multiple terms to see if these patterns are consistent, or was it just a one-semester thing, or whatever. So that pretty much sold us on Tableau. That I made that part of a presentation and showed that, and everybody kind of went, "Wow, let's." That was when we were Tableau was on trial, and we ended up buying it in full. I'll go through this quickly because I want to get to the one that we really want to show you. This is just a viz. Well, Jordan, I think you were going to explain this one. Let me turn this over to you. But
sure.
Let's sort of move along so we can get to the pathway tracker.
Yeah, we have a bunch of different programs and services for students. So we want a way to track what effect those programs and services had on the students compared to other programs and services and just all students in general. So we built this little cohort analysis dashboard. And it has a bunch of different metrics, average GPA, number of units taken, and it actually has a bunch of other things on it that we kind of had to clip off because of screen's real estate. But basically it allows you to compare any two programs, and there's a cohort table and banner that you can enter the student cohorts in. So once they're in there, you have access to all their demographic information and everything else. So you can kind of see what effects all those different aspects have. So this is EOPS, which is Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, which is a program design. It's a department really that's designed for helping students who are economically disadvantaged or in some other way need some extra help. So they have a couple programs, a Running Start program and a Spark program. So this kind of shows how the two different programs within that department, what effect what they have on the students. And it kind of breaks it up. We see some ethnicity breakdowns. Again, I mentioned there's other metrics in the full dashboard as well. But you can also compare these to like all full-time, first-time students, and how do they compare to those, and all the other different programs we have in there. So this is we're going to be really building this one out because we had just got a couple new grants for new programs. So we're going to be adding those to this as well. And it'll allow us to kind of see at a quick glance how those programs are doing, which is something that we've never been able to do, and certainly the programs, the program coordinators haven't been able to do. They've come to us and asked us questions, but now we have this quick and really easy to access a visual way to describe to them exactly how their programs are doing. So it's a pretty powerful tool. It's definitely going to be one we're going to be adding a lot more to over time. But it's a comparison, two cohort comparison. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
a couple quick ones, and then we'll get to the main course here. This bizarre look, you can see that we're a very artistic department. Well, no, never mind, I won't go there. This is a representation of full-time versus part-time attendance patterns. So what you're seeing here is basically one row, a horizontal row, 1 pixel wide or one line wide for every first-time student that came to our school for the first time in fall 2007. The dark green means they attended full-time for that semester, and this kind of brick color means they attended part-time for that semester. We have a big message to students that, hey, if you come to school, you need to attend full-time and pile up those units and be successful and get out of here. So we wanted to see, what's the pattern of students starting full-time and then switching to part-time, or they start part-time and they come full-time, and is that related to success and completion in any way? You can see here, we're about, for any given semester, students starting in that semester, first time, it's about 40% full-time and 60% part-time. So this is roughly 40, 60, and this is maybe, 5,000 students, something like that.
Yeah, I think this.
Starting first time, coming to us first time in fall of 07. In the spring, this many stayed full-time, and this percentage switched to part-time. And these many disappeared. They're gone. These, roughly 60% of this class started part-time, but in the spring of that year, that chunk switched to full-time, and this chunk stayed part-time, and that many disappeared. They're gone, lost to us. And you can see and so on. So here's fall 07, spring 08, summer. Fall 08, spring 09, summer 09, fall 09. So you can see what happens as they disappear. And we were amazed at how often they switch back and forth between full-time and part-time. Very few students are able to stay full-time for very long. That's a very small chunk. And yet we're saying full-time is your key to success. Well, not many students can maintain that. So, how are they going to be successful? For us, for our students, a lot of them well, more than half work, and a big chunk of them work more than 20 hours a week. So try going to school, working 20 hours a week. You've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a car to pay for, and you're trying to make progress in school to get your credits earned, and it's tough. So this shows you the patterns of attendance. And let me show you what we then did to connect that to completion. Now this looks like the matrix, I know, and I won't spend a lot of time on this. You can't see it. But again, dark green full-time, brick-colored part-time, there's that same pattern of switching back and forth. But the little dots are completions. So we have one color for certificates, another color for degrees, and another color for transfers. So what surprised us, one thing was, here's the part-time students down here. They still have a lot of completions. They're successful. The full-time students, are successful too, and you'll see blobs of, here's a bunch of degrees that were granted after 2 years. That makes sense. A bunch of transfers. It seems like the longer they stay, these part-timers are going more for degrees, and the full-timers are going more for transfers. At least that's one pattern we've kind of inferred from this. We're still studying this. We think it's cool. Other people say, this doesn't make any sense to me. Show me numeric data that I can deal with hard numbers. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jordan now. This is kind of what we wanted to show you the most. This is a viz we're proud of, and I'll let Jordan tell you about it.
Sure. So we were actually, the reason we were able to afford Tableau Server was we got a grant called the Express to Success program that was designed to create learning communities where groups of students who were below college level could take a lot of remedial basic skills classes together and actually take 2 classes in one term that they usually took 2 terms to take, to try and get them in and through as quickly as possible. And the communities part was that they all stayed in the same classes all together. That same group of students went through all the classes until they reached college level. So this Express to Success program actually paid for Tableau. So they said, can you build us a visualization? We paid for Tableau. Build us something. So we said, okay, we'll build something. So this initially started off as a visualization just for the students in that program. But it evolved as other counselors and other people saw this. They said, oh, we want to use that too. We want to be able to basically narrow down and find a particular group of students with a particular set of attributes. And we got 15 different requests for things. It started with 2 little filters, and now there's, 19 filters and four dials on there. So what you kind of see, these little dots, these are the group of, these are our full student body in fall 14. There's 18,232 students currently enrolled. And then these little dots, what they are is across the bottom here, the x-axis, that's the number of terms that they've completed. So it goes all the way from 0 to 13 or more terms that they've completed. And up the y-axis is how many units they've earned. So you can see there's a lot of students who've been here for a long time who've earned 144 or more units. So that was right there. One thing that the counselor said is we want to be able to find these students who've been here a long time. They're taking up seats from other students, and maybe either get them in for some sort of intervention, counseling, or just kind of identify at least who those students were. So then other counselors said, well, we want to see the students who are in trouble. Maybe they have a goal of transfer, but they have a 2.0 or below GPA. And they've failed English twice. So all these little controls here, we could say we could look here at students with a 2.0 GPA. So that 18,232 goes down to, let's see, so only 6,900 or so have 2.0 or less, and maybe they haven't seen a counselor yet. So we'll say no counselor visits. Okay, we're down to 5,000 or so. They are, let's do a first-time student. Oops, that's transfer. And maybe they're in one of our programs, the Express to Success program, say. So now, that narrowed it down too far. let's try, let's see. I guess if they're first-time students, maybe they wouldn't be in there. Let's just maybe narrow it down to students in the extended opportunity programs and services. So this is something, an exercise a counselor might actually go through, especially one in EOPS, our EOPS department, to actually get lists of students who might be in trouble who are in their program to identify them. And what this allows you to do is that you can actually then go in and you can, there's on the actual full, on the dashboard here, there's a tab for a detailed list that the storyboards won't allow you to do tabs. So one way you can do it is to just lasso the group of students you're looking for, and then you can go over to the detailed list that way, show selected detailed list, or that you can click that tab. So now it's down to 73 students that maybe they want to contact. So they click the detailed list tab, and boom, there's your 73 students that you wanted to contact. Here's their fake ID field. So we stripped the name out here, and it just says that. But what you get is a lot of other demographic information that they can then export to an Excel file that will have a column with all their email addresses. They just copy and paste that right into their Gmail, shoot off an email to all those students, say, please come in for a counseling appointment. We'd like to visit with you. So what this allowed is all our programs, and as well as the counselors, and like I said, 1,500 to 1 student to counselor ratio, to use this tool to identify the very specific group of students that they were interested in. This is a very widely used one among the counselors. They've really taken to it. We have people going out and training the counselors how to use it now, and it not only bypasses our office, but allows them to do analysis that they've never been able to do before. So it's really been a real positive for them, and it's really been a big draw and made them real excited about Tableau. Yes? Pace of progression is usually it's the, do you remember exactly what the pace of progression is?
It's a fraction. I think the denominator is the total number of units attempted, and the numerator is the number of units successfully completed. I think that's it. And there's some threshold that the counseling department has established below which, you know, you're taking classes, but you're not passing them, and we need to know what's going on there so we can help you.
It tends to be really related to GPA and other factors, but it's something that particularly the counselors asked us to add in because certain counselors look at that metric over GPA. So this was sort of Tableau wasn't really meant to do like tabular lists of things, but we've sort of built this out, and it's actually been one of the ones that's generated the most buzz around Tableau and Tableau usage. Again, though, it's very restricted. Only the counselors can see it, so it's not one that the full campus has access to, like a lot of our just basic demographic information. So yeah, that was one of our big wins with Tableau, and we're still evolving this. I mean, we just added in the transfer institution, because the transfer program at our school, Kathy Adams, the director there, came over and said, hey, I really want to be able to filter out for the students who are trying to go to CSU Channel Islands or a particular school. They wanted to identify the students and then find other attributes about them, and then contact those students either to try and promote them and help them get in there, or help talk about what their requirements would be in order to transfer. So that's pretty much that one.
I wanted to add something about that. Oh, question there, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to get back to what you're saying about the whole campus. What do they actually do, and how do you get this out to them? You mentioned the counselors have access to individual student data sets. What about the rest of the campus? How do you push that out?
All full-time staff and all faculty have access to it through Active Directory. So their Active Directory accounts are directly linked in. So they're just basic users. Everyone's a basic user, and then we create certain groups on the Tableau server that allow us to direct particular vizzes towards certain groups of people. So the deans might have their set, so when they open Tableau, they'll see their dean-related ones, as well as all the generally accessible ones. Counselors would see a different set. Instructors would see a different set. So based on permissions and groups on Tableau server, we're able to restrict access. And you can even do row level, so you couldn't see names or things like that, but we haven't gone to that point yet. So
the follow-up would be, is there anything, like when you see that campus-wide patterns in terms of continuation and things like that, do you ever share those, and if so, how?
Well, everyone's seeing the same information if they have access to that visualization.
Right. Like, say for a professor doesn't have access to all the students, do they ever see that continuation information or anything? I mean, do you ever push that out to them?
The continuation information
Well,
is.
just like, students persisting full-time or part-time, or just some stuff that might be interesting from like a global kind of big picture.
Yes, that particular viz is also accessible to everyone because there's no student identifiable information. So all those researchy type ones, there's very few actually. It turns out that we have to keep kind of private. Most of the stuff when we publish the data sources, we don't include any student names or IDs or anything identifiable. So for the very purpose of making them publicly accessible to everyone, all the full-time staff and faculty.
You just extract those elements from the database. You don't connect that live to the database.
Exactly. We do Tableau data extracts nightly. So this is all working off of a nightly Tableau data extract onto the Tableau server.
But we have actually turned over those extracts to certain faculty who've asked for them and given them some training in Tableau, either Tableau desktop or, there's a lot you can do in the browser now.
Yeah.
Given a data set. We had one computer science faculty who just went to town and did all kinds of stuff with his students. So there's potential there. I was thinking while you were asking your question about kind of the paradox of now that, oh, I'm sorry, you have a question too?
No,
Sorry,
but
go
I
ahead.
mean, you said in the browser, so
Yeah.
this faculty member uploaded data?
No,
Well-
when you publish data to the Tableau server, there's a data sources section when you log in via the website, and you can click on that, and you can actually, if you have permissions, you can create your own workbook using that data source. So we've actually had multiple instructors and deans say, can I have access to that data source? And they go in and they build their own visualizations, save them locally, and then you can use Tableau Reader to share that with other people. So it's now there's even new features that they were talking about on Tuesday that they've added to the browser. So now you can even create calculated fields, was it, in the browser? Yeah, which is pretty amazing. That was like one big shortcoming of, you kind of just had to use the data as it was, but now there's a lot more functionality. It seems like they're adding more and more as we go. Yes, sir?
So yeah, that's a feature that's built into Tableau server. It's like a watered down version of desktop.
Right.
Where they can actually
Exactly.
go in and edit workbooks or create new workbooks and connect to the data sources that you've already uploaded to your server.
That's correct. Yeah, if they've been given permission to access those.
They don't have to have their own desktop.
They don't have
Right.
Exactly. So they can do a lot of ad hoc analysis and do one-off things that they want to see if they're technically savvy enough to kind of do it. Because it looks very much like Tableau Desktop for those of you who use it. Yes.
But the thing that still terrifies me about it is that, so then they share it with the reader, and isn't the data source with that when they're sharing it?
Yes, the data source would be with that, but again, it wouldn't have any student identifiable information. So
Yeah, we would never put anything out that could identify anybody.
we
That would be
don't.
a
We
no-no,
wouldn't.
yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't give permissions to someone to use this data source, for instance.
Right.
So you can pick and choose which.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
only do it. We only grant it when asked.
But we
If
want to give them data.
We do.
want them to go to but we're very yeah.
You have to be
And
really
Tableau
careful.
gives
You're
us
absolutely
Tableau
right.
gives us all the control we need there.
You're absolutely right. You have to be
careful.
very, very careful. You're right.
Yeah.
Is there another? Yeah.
Do a consolidated data set like you do some, it's not unit record student data, it's reduced to maybe some other.
Yes, for like the demographic data, for instance, it's like one row that says, it's Hispanic, part-time
Aggregated.
student, and then 3 is the number of students who fall into that bucket. So it's never any student.
That number is 3.
Yeah, we got to take out small cells.
Yeah,
and all
small.
that.
Yeah. There's potentially those things in there. Although I don't know if we have any cohorts less than 10 of that, but we could. Yeah, that might be
It
something.
hasn't really come up yet.
It hasn't, but yeah, there's no identifiable student information in any of those. So
How many Banner schools here? Just out of curiosity, we're Banner. We've been Banner since summer '07. We had no problems hooking it up to Banner.
Do you hook it up to the ODS?
We didn't go for ODS. We looked at ODS, and sorry, yeah. When we bought Banner, we used some consultants from a company called Strata Information Group to help us transition from our old homegrown system to Banner. And they left us with a set of reporting views, sort of reporting tables, a dozen or so. One was for academic history, one was student demographics, one was, I don't know, whatever you could think of. There were about a dozen of these things. And so not knowing where anything was in Banner, we started writing our reports against those views. And gradually those views became nightly extracts of tables. And so that became our ODS. And we knew that data very well. We knew where everything was. We knew the characteristics. We knew the gotchas. And so we looked at ODS but didn't go that way because we'd already gone down this other road that we were very comfortable with. So our Tableau runs against nightly reporting tables that we extract from Banner ourselves. We have a very strong IT department, which I used to be a member of, so I have a strong IT background, and that alliance with IT helps us a lot in our data world. Without that IT alliance, IR is hard-pressed to get data. I know that a lot of people are in a bad situation there. Yes?
Can you elaborate on that relationship between IR and IT?
Oh, for months I could elaborate.
Can you maybe expound on some of the things that you've done to keep that relationship strong or build
Yep.
that relationship?
One thing, I would say that the most successful thing we did was I started a group called SPIRIT, Strategic Planning for IR and IT. And we met every 2 weeks to talk about, well, for example, the problem of, president calls up and says, I need to know how many students went to UCSB last semester. Well, if IT wrote that report, they would count it one way. Might be the same way IR would count it, but would they count this certain kind of student or exclude them, and so on. So we wanted to make sure we were counting the same way so that the decision makers didn't get two different answers, because as soon as you get two different answers, you've lost trust in both answers. And so we coordinated on building a common set of functions and a common agreement on how we would count students, faculty, various things like that. And that meeting every 2 weeks, it was we already had a good relationship. It wasn't like we were enemies. And I was an ex-IT guy, so I knew all those people. We had, a good starting point. But that meeting every 2 weeks, even if we didn't have much to talk about, just seeing faces and getting stuff out on the table, we knew what their projects were. We just maintained a friendship. And that was really crucial. And we weren't, it's easy to sort of get defensive and this is mine and that's yours and we know how to do it and you guys don't, and vice versa. But we really tried hard to avoid that and meet them more than halfway. And we were willing to write reports that we thought, well, really IT ought to write that report, but we'll do it. And they do the same thing for us. So that relationship is critical to having a success with a tool like Tableau. Not, you can do it without, but I mean, you need the data. You need access to the data. You're IR. You need everything. What shouldn't you see? You're IR.
I think we have time for probably one more
sorry.
question. Robert's got to
sorry.
catch a bus at 6.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, I talked
yeah.
too much.
Sorry, I saw a hand up. Yes, sir.
So it sounds like nightly you do extract that data from Banner into a data warehouse. Banner likes to do a lot of effective dating and expiration dating. Is your data warehouse shaped differently to not have that kind of thing? For example, the term code for every term that a student enrolls as opposed to an effective term code with an expiration of 9 months.
Yes. Yeah. The term code is for every term that they are enrolled. Yeah.
Yep.
A row for every single. Yeah. There's a term enrolled. It's one record per student per term. Then there's their academic history, which is one record per student per course per term.
And your visualizations are hitting that warehouse.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
That's
we've
right.
never had any performance issues. I mean, Tableau databases are so fast, hardware is so fast, memory's cheap, storage is cheap. Why not just store everything? Within reason, of course. But, why not store a record for every student for every term they've ever been there? It's cheap. And so Tableau is so fast. It's just, I mean, as you know, it's
Yeah,
great.
and it's fun
So
to
that,
use, too.
that hasn't been a problem.
Yep, and there's our email addresses. Feel free to contact me or Robert. We'd be happy to share our files with you guys if you want to
Yeah.
take a look at how we build things. We'd be more than happy to share with you guys.
And we want to know what you're doing, too. So if you have something like, oh, hey, we have something that's better than that or cooler. No.
No problem. My pleasure, yeah.
Here's my cards. I'm going
Yeah.
to just leave a bunch right here. I got to run.
I'm pretty,
Okay,
I'm kind of the
thank
main
you all
Tableau
very
guy
much.
Too,
Be
so
sure
I'd be happy to chat with you
be sure to
anytime.
take the survey and say that
I
this
ran
was
out
the
of cards,
most
but
awesome
feel free to
session
shoot
you were
me an
ever
email
at.
and